Hey, this is Brian Hegney, instructor of game and interactive media design. This is a speed modeling video of doing a gun. You can see I'm starting with a cylinder. And right there I'm using a soft selection on the top of one of the cylinders. And I'm not really loving it. I delete the center of it and then use the cap holes. I'm doing the cap holes thing a lot. You'll see for these cylinders right there, I'm doing the polar array that we did in the attaching the bolts to the barrel a long time ago. And what I'm doing here is attaching that image to a plane so that I'm attaching the image of that gun to a material. And right now I'm using the spline tool, or the shapes tool, to draw a spline. In the shape of that one piece. That's going to be that silver piece. When you add the edit poly to a shape, it obviously, or if you recall, it turns it into a plane. And as I extrude it, the other thing I'm doing now is I'm using the cut tool, or the create tool, to create edges on that surface. And I'm trying to keep quads, or keep four-sided polygons. And so I guess it would have helped if I had really thought about keeping quads the whole time. I didn't, sorry about that. And there I'm adding more edges, similar to what we did with the wood in the very beginning when we made the wooden table. I wanted to add turbo smooth and keep particular corners really tight, but still smoothed. Okay, so I finished that one. Here again, I'm doing the other second part of the handle in a little different way. I'm using a box and I'm extruding different parts of that box outward. And then, of course, I think I'm using Turbo Smooth there as well. And then for that, I'm using Mirror to mirror that to the other side. For this barrel, I'm just using the scale tool to scale them wider or longer. Okay, and now I'm making the little piece that's kind of gonna hold on to those barrels. A lot of this is just guesstimation work, depending on how important the piece is. Will depend on whether or not you use like engineering blueprints or whether you just kind of eyeball it. I will tell you, this next piece was so hard. And I'm still not actually happy with it. I'll probably give it to you, but I would have done it. Oh, I would have done it a fourth time even. I think I tried this 2 times. I would probably use a different method that I haven't shown you yet, which is why I didn't want to do it here. But I'm using the box creation method, where I start off with a box and extrude and kind of move vertices around. I'm really trying, I've tried 20 different ways to kind of get that really beautiful curved section on that trigger. Oh, there, now I'm starting over completely anew, so this is the second go. I really did not like what I was doing. Oh. And you can see I'm adding those swift loops because I'm probably going to add turbo smooth onto here to beautify that up. And I'm using symmetry, not mirror. I'm using symmetry because that is a symmetrical object. And symmetry deletes all of the interior geometry there. And I'm going to just shove that in and then use the scale tool to scale it in. And now that I think I'm adding Turbo Smooth there. I actually go and I decide to choose not Turbo Smooth, but I'm using now a tool called Chamfer. And so instead of Turbo Smooth, I'm using Chamfer to chamfer all of those edges if I want to keep my poly count down. And now here's the annoying part. Unwrapping. I'm going to unwrap every single piece. I end up changing the way I do this later on, but what you'll see is I'm really trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how do I select just the outside? I go through a whole bunch of ways of doing this, but a lot of it includes me just thinking, hey, how do I select just these parts? And you have to choose your windowed versus your crossing mode for selection. Do I want to use a square marquee, a rectangular marquee, I mean, or a lasso tool? And this is me really trying to figure out, oh my god, this one piece is just so annoying. I even think I'm going to change this the way I do it. But I use a tool called Relax, which I try all of these different methods of unwrapping it, and none of them worked. None of them, I was not happy with any of them. And you'll see I then go to a tool down in the middle of all of that, and it is the straighten tools, and that actually was the best one. I wish I had thought of that in the very beginning, and I didn't. And now I'm going to kind of like push them all over, and I'm going to select each row of a segment and double click it to select the entire row and hit the seam or the stitch seam button, which is toward the top on the right, and it will stitch those things together. Let's see. Oh, this is the centerpiece I'm now unwrapping. Basically do it very similarly. It's not as complicated of a shape as the other one, so it's actually pretty easy. And now I'm moving on here again. Oh, I forgot to cap holes for that one, and I'm actually going to go and realize, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to turbo smooth that. I want to chamfer that. So I'm turning off turbo smooth, going back. What am I doing? Sometimes I forget. And I chamfered that edge right there in the middle. Now what I'm going to do now is, after I chamfer all of that, I can set every single polygon onto the same smoothing group. It takes me like 10 minutes to realize that. I think I put them all on slightly different smoothing groups. Nope. Then I select all of them, put them on the same smoothing group. And then, yep, I realize, oh my gosh, I forgot to do the cap holes. And there we go. Those two circles I pull out, and then I try to select the entire outside. I will use the cylindrical unwrap and use the scale tool to scale that down. And my goal here is to make sure all of the squares are squares. Okay. And now this one's really annoying. This was so annoying. If you want to save yourself some strife, don't use so many polygons. This was so annoying. I would have made this slightly differently if I were to go back in time. I am actually not happy with this shape at all. But you know, that's the point of modeling them. If you model 1,000 guns, you're going to have a specific way of modeling. And what I'm doing is I'm selecting a lot of things and then deselecting by using the Alt selection tool to deselect from other elements or islands in the UV unwrap editor. And so little by little, I'm actually doing probably only 2 types of projection unwrapping, which is cylindrical and planar. So I'm kind of planar projection unwrapping everything. And even if it has, so that's why I'm selecting those little bits and pieces here, little bits and pieces there. And then at the very end, I'm kind of going to weld them all together and kind of re-weld them, re-weld them, re-weld them, re-unwrap them. And so it's a little bit of a process. But in doing this, you're going to be joining the unwrap army of, I don't know. There's trying to make you feel better about spending a lot of time unwrapping. Yeah, see? So all of these were little pieces that I planer unwrapped, and now I'm kind of welding them back together. And at the end, I'm going to have a long strip that runs along the outside of this piece. And again, I'm using the weld seam tool at the very end, or every time I want to weld those seams together. Okay. After that, I'm going to go ahead and actually create a material with one of those cube things. See, that's not unwrapped, and that's how terrible it looks. There, and now that's starting to be unwrapped. Yay. Using planar projection. Again, planar projection for almost everything. If it's a cylinder, yes, you can use the cylindrical projection unwrap, but many things can be done in sequence using just planes. And then, of course, that's mirrored, so I only did it to the first one before I mirrored it, and then the mirror will actually mirror those unwraps. This was another really tough one. If I were to go back in time, I'd do this slightly differently. But again, I'm taking, you know, things that are almost planes, selecting only the top, only the bottom, only the side, using the plane projection unwrap, which you all think it looks like a trapezoid. It is not. It is a plane. Planar unwrap. Hover over that trapezoid shape just to verify that's what it is. And then when I'm done, well, I'm not done. It's amazing how much I spend unwrapping this part of the shape, and I forgot at the very end. I realized so much of it is pushed inside of the gun you don't even see it anyway. That really disappointed me. You'll see that as we go forward. Another trick I have is to select a whole bunch of stuff, unwrap it, select the element selection mode, and unwrap it again, and then you end up losing a lot of the garbage. Okay. Once again, this whole thing is really sped up. I think 1,200%, something like that. So this used to be like 2 hours long. It is now, I think, 15 minutes or 12 minutes for you. Ooh, is that almost all unwrapped? Ooh, beautiful. That's it. And I'm just making it a little bit prettier. Making the big stuff big. And there we go. That should be it. Is it?